Well, hello and welcome to this week's episode of On Deck with Avoya, your weekly travel update. I'm your host, Chris Greene, Director of Network Expansion for Avoya Travel, and we very much appreciate your time. And anytime you take a few moments and tune into our program, we hope that you enjoy our question and answer segments, our look at the top travel stories every week, and that you find something in each show that makes you want to investigate the elite resources offered by Avoya Travel in just a little more depth. It's those resources that really fuel our network to being number one year after year. We've got a great show lined up for you today with not one, but two great guests as we welcome the owners of Epic Jaunts LLC, an independent agency in the Avoya Travel Network, to On Deck with Avoya. Ryan Warshaw and Dave Levine have been part of the Avoya Network for just about a year now. But wow, talk about getting out of the gate fast and never looking back. And we're excited to share their story. We're going to solicit some practical advice and get both of their thoughts on the current state of the industry. Ryan and Dave will join us for that Meet the Network segment here in just a few moments. I've also been scouring the top travel headlines this week, and we've got a few stories that we think are worth a share in our Eye on the Industry segment, including a story about the newly revitalized cruise port in Nassau. That's getting ready to open up later on this month. The Hilton Corporation going to be managing a new all-inclusive resort. It's their first time in the Dominican Republic. We'll have the latest as they aggressively grow their brand in the Caribbean. And finally, so much snow in the western part of the country that this is translated into yet another record year for the ski industry. And of course, that trickles down to those that sell ski packages. We'll share those numbers all coming up here in just a minute. We'll also take a few moments as we wrap up our show today to feature next week's exciting guest, discuss promotions, travel agent education, elite resources, ways to follow us here on at Avoya Travel on social media, and of course our contact information so that you can reach out and start the journey to becoming an affiliate with the number one host agency in the industry. That's Avoya Travel. So let's kick it off. This week's episode of On Deck with Avoya with some industry insights and our Eye on the Industry feature. In a story we sourced from our friends at Travel Weekly, following a 4-year redevelopment of the Nassau cruise port, the first phase of the $300 million project will open to the public on May 26th, coming up here in just a couple of weeks. With the addition of a new berth and the refurbishment of all the piers, the port said it will be able to accommodate 6 major cruise ships per day. That'll increase daily capacity from 20,000 to 30,000 potential passengers. With the first phase of development, cruise passengers will encounter a new arrival plaza, a Junkanoo museum featuring immersive experiences, Bahamian retail and food and beverage outlets, a ground transportation area, an amphitheater, and an art gallery with new green spaces. The port said there's a focus on Bahamian culture, with tenants within the marketplace and Port Plaza offering a variety of experiences and goods that pay homage to the traditions there in the Bahamas. In 2024, the port plans to add a signature restaurant and additional family-friendly attractions. In a story from Travel Pulse, the Hilton brand announced its first management agreement for the first all-inclusive curio collection by Hilton property in the Dominican Republic. The newly built Zemi Niches all-inclusive resort curio collection by Hilton, located north of Punta Cana in the coastal town of Niches. The new 502-room all-inclusive resort is owned by Zemi Hotels and Resorts, but will be managed by Hilton. The property, known for its beaches, mountain landscapes, and natural surroundings, is slated to open in 2024. Now, this all-inclusive resort will become Hilton's 10th all-inclusive property in the Caribbean and Latin America. The company also plans to nearly triple its portfolio in the Dominican Republic over the next 5 years. That's an aggressive growth plan, but kind of fits with what's going on in the travel industry these days. And finally, more snow? Well, of course, that equals more skiers, and in record amounts again this year. This is the story from Travel Weekly again. The U.S. ski areas have enjoyed record visitation during the 2022-2023 season. Now, according to the National Ski Areas Association, domestic ski areas have welcomed in 64.7 million visitors. That's a 6.6% increase over last year, which also was a record-breaking year. This season's numbers will remain preliminary as some ski mountains are still open, and they expect skier visit anytime. It registers a skier visit anytime someone uses a lift ticket or pass at the ski areas that they monitor. Snowfall, of course, has been a key driver of this year's record-breaking season. Average snowfall at ski areas nationwide totaled 224 inches. That's a 30% increase over the 10-year average. As a result, the average length of a season at U.S. ski areas will be estimated at 116 days, an increase of 6 days over last year. Some ski areas are going to be open a full month later than they normally close. In fact, I saw one outside of Las Vegas where temperatures in the Las Vegas Valley are already flirting with 100, but they're still skiing up there in the mountains, and they probably will be until at least like late May. Pretty amazing stuff. Okay, time to transition to our favorite part of the show, where we get a chance to chat with some of the top level professionals in the country. Today, double trouble, as we welcome two Meet the Network guests to our show, Ryan Warshaw and Dave Levine. Both bring years of sales experience to the table and have shown that even new to the industry people can put up amazing sales figures when you focus and utilize the resources you're offered effectively and then leverage that for positive results for your business. I've been proudly following their success for the last year, and we're thrilled to have them on the show today. So please help me welcome in our two featured Meet the Guests today, Ryan Warshaw, Dave Levine, owners of Epic Jaunts, LLC, an independent agency in the Avoya Network. Ryan and Dave, welcome to On Deck with Avoya.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Chris. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Ryan, let's start with you. Tell me a little bit about your personal history and what led you to Avoya Travel as a member of the network.
Yeah, Chris, I think it's a great question. Dave and I share a bit of a similar background, both originally from South Florida. Went to college in Florida, and then we've had a little bit of time as we've grown up, as we've moved a little bit. I live in Minneapolis now. Dave just lives outside of Orlando in Winter Garden. Originally started with Best Buy for the two of us, both long careers. Weathered COVID in what was probably an amazing time for the electronics industry, if you can believe it. Kind of the unintended winner of the pandemic, as everybody was trying to figure out how to work from home, educate from home, and probably most importantly, entertain from home as we were all locked up. Dave and I have always had kind of a deep passion for travel, and we had some discussion and some dialogue maybe as we were coming out of the pandemic as to whether or not this was the time for us to open our own business and do our own venture. And that was a lot of what we discussed, and that's really how we got to this point today. I think we're coming up on maybe about a year in the not too distant future. Plenty of things that we've learned along the way, I think, for sure. We're happy to share some of those thoughts and insights with others, for sure.
Absolutely. And Dave, anything you want to add to that from your personal history as far as your love of travel and how you got from point A to point B here with Avoya?
Yeah, I mean, we've always really loved helping out friends and family over many, many years, and just kind of took that on as a hobby a lot of times. And I think that kind of just made for an easy transition. And I think as far as how did we make our way to Avoya after doing a lot of research and chatting with a lot of folks, like such a good story about the company, about the family, and as we continue to work with everybody, just the incredible support and the incredible people. I think it's just second to none. So that's been a really big part of it, I would say, just to add on to what Ryan already mentioned.
And Dave, when you look back at your personal history, was travel something that was kind of vital to you and your family as you grew up, or when did that travel bug for you, personally kind of set in?
Yeah, my parents were teachers, so the summers were always off, so there was always summer trips, mostly domestically. So that was always pretty great. And I think for me, my daughter's almost 9, and beyond just doing what I was accustomed to growing up, I wanted to be able to show her a lot more than that, travel internationally and do bigger trips and be a little bit more adventurous. So we've been able to do a lot of that, both as a family and then with other families, whether it's Ryan or others, or taking along parents, in-laws, and all that fun stuff. But I think it's been amazing really exposing her, and same thing I know for Ryan with his daughter, to so much of the world at an early age. I think it started a really good path for them as people, and I want to continue that.
For sure. And Ryan, was that kind of a similar story in that as you grew up, travel was something that was important to your family?
Yeah, I mean, I think similar story for sure, right? Being able to experience so much of what there was in the US. And, for us, it was maybe a quick Caribbean getaway or a 3-day cruise was really the first kind of forays out of the country. And I would say once there was the point where we could travel internationally, and probably for me and Dave and Chris, like our generation, like, international travel was a really big deal, and it still is today, although it's been super simplified with the amount of airlift there is into other places. When you used to tell somebody you were going to go to the United Kingdom, it was like the trip of the decade. And now, you hear people say like, oh yeah, we're popping into the UK for a weekend. So it's a little bit different, I would say, for sure. And we've loved being able to take our daughter's almost 4. So we've already taken her to Spain during COVID. That was interesting. But yeah, we've been able to travel, and we look forward to doing a lot more of that here in the years ahead.
Yeah, I remember going by the airport when I was a kid and just seeing people getting dropped off and thinking, wow, they live this most exotic life, right? I mean, because just getting on a plane was something that we didn't do very much as a kid. So, now just to see how different life can be. And as you said there, Ryan, the amount of airlift is just unbelievable. Now, last week, the two of you had a chance to visit the Avoya Travel Innovation Center out in Southern California. Ryan, tell me a little bit about that trip and your thoughts on visiting Avoya HQ.
Yeah, no, it's a good question, Chris. And we were humbled by the invitation to come out and spend some time with the team. Dave really alluded to this early on when we did our research as to where were we going to, have an affiliation. Avoya consistently came up top notch as it related to service and support. And for people like us who maybe came with sales background and a customer focused background and a personal knowledge of travel, we didn't really know any of the ins and outs of systems and vendors and whatnot in the travel industry. So, for us to go out and meet the folks that have been working with us virtually and helping us virtually over the last year was really great, and got to spend some time with each of the teams who are helping to make sure that we're delivering kind of a consistent level of experience for everybody in the network. And we have nothing but kind things to say about the folks who have been incredibly gracious. You're going to stub your toe and make some mistakes along the way, ideally not big ones. I don't think we have any catastrophic ones yet. I'm sure the day will come. But yeah, it's been really great to have the team and get to meet the folks who have been supporting us throughout all of this.
I mean, even though you guys have had fantastic success in the first year of your agency, Dave, is a chance to go out to California, be at the Innovation Center, really help you kind of lock in some of the vision that you had, and then take that vision and now apply it to people that you've met face to face?
Yeah, it's a good one, Chris. I think so much about this type of work is about collaboration and about things always evolving. And it was really refreshing to hear and to help discuss and align on what are some of the strategies that are forthcoming, what are some of the ideas that maybe we need to put into play or bring back to life that maybe was something we were looking at pre-COVID. And then just really the culture of it all. I think travel's exciting. Travel brings out the best of people. It's just an amazing way to spend your time, an amazing way to connect with other folks, amazing way to see the world. And it just shines through in really everything that the team there does, and was super inspirational. So the time was fantastic.
So let's talk for a second about your agency, Epic Johns LLC, and tell me a little bit about what your focus is as an agency, and just some of the thoughts that you had going into year one.
Yeah,
you take this one.
Yeah, it's been a journey for sure, Chris. And we love to say we still have no idea what we're doing. And a lot of it is really trying to figure it as you go, and not really being stuck in your ways, and being open to new ways of learning and new ways of working as much as humanly possible. I think for us, while we started off broad with a lot of the mass market ocean cruise lines that had good success there, we just really had our interest peaked with some of the luxury segments and river cruising and things like that. And I think along the way, just sticking to what we got told very early on by some pretty successful folks, which is really just have that narrow focus and high intensity around some specialties that you're super passionate about. For us, it's probably been more around AMA waterways and Oceania, probably more than anything else. But from a strategy and a work perspective, just a really great rhythm, Chris, like just making sure that we're staying true to ourselves, and our families and our clients just around like, what is the cadence of things that we do in a typical day or a typical week. And for Ryan and I, it works out nice because we can keep each other honest. And then lastly, I think this probably carries over to any industry, but really just the legendary service component of, why us? What's going to be different? If I've sailed with this cruise line 10 times before and had 10 different travel agents or advisors, like what's going to set you apart? Why are you going to be the differentiator? Or why is that supplier going to be different or unique for me as maybe a first-time traveler? So I think just thinking about all of that stuff, and then making sure that you keep yourself in check as much as possible, and be quick to make adjustments to your strategy or to the way you do things, or how you're looking to support folks, I think makes a big difference.
That's a story that I've heard resonate with so many successful independent affiliates, is that have a vision, but also have room in there that your vision can change. Because when you create the vision, it's with the knowledge that you have. And as your vision changes, it's because you've acquired this new knowledge, right?
Every day. Every day.
Ryan, as you go into year 2 here soon with your agency, tell me a little bit about how kind of some of the steps that you'll take to make sure that you follow up your first great year with an even more successful second great year.
Yeah, that's a good one. Growth is going to be the word that Dave and I use consistently with each other. We're trying to grow the business year over year. Even the dog woke up when I had said growth. He must hear that from time to time when Dave and I are maybe on Teams calls with one another. I think that narrow focus, high intensity, our first year where we didn't really know a whole lot. I think for anybody who may be coming into this world, you got to be inquisitive, right? You have to want to learn. And I think when we really started out, it was like, man, let me take every e-learning for every vendor. And then all of a sudden it was like, man, there's no way that I'm ever going to be able to process all of this information. So I think we will continue to hone in on some specific brands. We will obviously sell anything to anyone, right? And that's part of, to Dave's point on having just that obsessive feeling about the customer, where somebody comes to you and says, hey, I've never thought about this. I mean, I saw Chris, maybe we'll be the first ones to sell one, but now travel advisors are going to be able to sell the balloon that goes to the edge of space. Yeah, I think it's only 100,000 a seat. So I think for everybody, the payout will be good. So somebody can be the rabbit there and sell that. But I think we'll continue to really focus on some of that. I think really driving repeat business is big for us, right? How do we have clients that have had that legendary experience? We got a call from somebody who we've helped a handful of times, one of our clients, right before this call, that wants to take their family of 20 and all the grandkids and go on a family trip for somebody's 65th birthday. And I think that's what's so special about travel. This isn't business travel, right? This is personal travel. People want to make memories. People want to have something where they have the picture. It's probably not in an album anymore. It's on an iPhone, but they have all of that they can show. And I think that's where Dave and I get really excited. There's always going to be the simple transactional moments, but then there's also going to be those opportunities where we really get to make something special for people. And I think that's really where we got to get a lot of excitement. And we've been blown away by how much group travel exists. So I would say as we go into year 2, we haven't really mastered it, but as we have a level of comfort as it relates to you and your wife want to go on a trip. Now it's, hey, how do we get your neighbors and your family and your friends to go with you? So 1, you can create that memory, and 2, we can grow the book of business as well.
We had Vicki Freed from Royal Caribbean, Senior Vice President, on last fall. And that was her number 1 tip, right? She said, anytime you talk to a client, you'll be amazed how you can grow your business simply by making the last question you ask them, who else do you know that might want to go on this amazing, vacation with you, right? I mean, sometimes it's the simple things that make the big difference. Would you agree with that?
Totally. Yeah.
100%.
Yep. Let's talk a little bit about resources. You guys had some kind words to say being out at the Innovation Center last week in California about Avoya Travel resources. Do you find that there's certain resources that really resonate with your agency and help to fuel your success?
Probably way too many to go through on this call, but a handful of ones that come to mind. The marketing team is fantastic, incredibly passionate about what they do, super open to dialogue and wanting to help you to slow down, to speed up. The brand sales team is fantastic, great support. Network expansion, especially for folks newer, just that training rhythm and getting you up to speed and having a great network to be able to go back to for resources is pretty killer. Ryan and I probably haven't really started to scratch the surface of this yet, but so many resources now through TLN, you think about like Agent Profiler and some of those other pieces that are available to us. And I think that's something, I think we can all continue to leverage in the months to come. And then the educational resources. I mean, man, there's so many opportunities for you to fuel your own learning and your own growth just by going through those and being a part of the things that maybe you're interested in. It could be short-term, could be long-term, could be just be trying to figure out who are some good people to talk to or acquire some good information to maybe use down the line. But just, those are probably a handful of them, Chris, but so much of the team, everybody's aligned. And really all things IT. I mean, the technology is world-class.
We really certainly appreciate hearing that. And we believe that's the reason why Avoya Travel is the #1 host agency in the industry. As new to the industry agents, what advice might you offer someone, Ryan, that's considering entering the travel industry? I mean, can you kind of walk us through a little bit of the research that you did that ultimately led you to Avoya Travel and maybe offer some advice on ways they can do similar research themselves?
Yeah, it's a great question, Chris. I think one of them, whether it comes to you naturally or you just find it as a way forward, right? You have to be inquisitive in this world, right? One of the neat things about travel is it's ever evolving. You think about some of what you even kicked off the call with, right? We've got new countries that have now new brands that they're starting to see. You can ski, I think, at Mammoth into July. I was joking with Jeff last week when we were in California. I mean, I'll bring some flip-flops and shorts and I guess we'll be able to ski into July. So I think being inquisitive about like what's happening in travel, right? I think that's probably the biggest piece. When you start to think about the work, right? I mean, this is real work. And I think that's also important. Like, what's your level of dedication, commitment, and passion to the work, right? We're here to serve the need of a client, somebody who becomes your client, our client, however you want to look at that. And sometimes there's a little bit of, when is that person available? I think about myself, right? I'm married, I have a child, she has swim, she has daycare, Dave's daughter has, hobbies and sports and school and everything else, right? So when the natural progression of humans have time to chat, sometimes it's in the car when they're on their way home, or it's on the weekend in between birthday parties and running errands, right? So I think there's a great level of flexibility that you gain in this work. I think there's also some give and take there, right? So how do you make sure that you're available? And I think that the people who find the most success are available when their clients need them. I think you can certainly set boundaries with folks and you start to kind of go through the work and say like, hey, is this something that requires a response right now? I want to make sure my bedding preference is done for my cruise in January. I can probably deal with that on Monday. Or, when I got a phone call at 5:30 in the morning because somebody was on their way to Asia and their flight canceled and they were going to miss their connection. Like, yeah, I got out of bed for that one. So, I think those are the pieces. If you love travel, if you love the ability to have your own business, and you really love the ability to help people create a memory, whether it's in that small setting of just two people or it's in that group setting, it's just selling fun. There's nothing here. There's not a lot of PowerPoints that Dave and I are building anymore. We used to build a lot of them, and candidly, Dave was far better at it than I was. So
the question just came to my mind, but you guys have a unique perspective, having been with Best Buy at the beginning of the COVID pandemic, and that you watched everybody be focused on stuff, right? All those electronics and things to make life easier. And then it feels like there's been this like monumental shift in the concept of humans. And have you guys felt that too, as you've transitioned from that industry to travel, that maybe you switched waves, so to speak, at the right time? Because Now it seems like experiences are so much more than, like, I don't care about buying the latest gadget. I want to go and see the most exciting place in the world that I can, though.
Yeah, I'll tell you, you couldn't be more accurate in your thought there. And I think it's been a great shift to see happening. And I hope that it kind of stays that way, right? And I think arguably pre-pandemic, like there was a big focus on a big priority around experiences. But I think maybe a lot of that time taught us even more. Take advantage of the time that you have and make memories and be together. I think there's so much multi-generational travel happening. I feel like that's definitely way higher than maybe it used to be. And I think a lot of that is a result of everything that everybody's been through too, which has been really refreshing to see. I mean, it's fantastic when you can have fun, create memories, and experience life as a larger family unit or a larger travel group than maybe a smaller one. So, it's been some of the nice benefits that you hope are here to stay.
What kind of feedback are you getting from clients right now? I mean, what are you hearing about them that excites them to get out and travel now? What kind of things are you hearing that might be holding them back from traveling right now? I mean, anything that you can share from that standpoint?
Probably not. The multi-generational thing, I think, is a big one. I think lots of first-time travelers to new types of experiences. Hey, this is my first river cruise. Can't say the amount of times I've heard that before. Hey, this is my first time trying this cruise line before. What do you think about it? Or I want to try and start taking smaller ships, or I want to do some more expedition type of activities. Way more specialization. I really enjoy biking. I really enjoy wine. I want to do something that's all about that. What can you help me put together? And just a lot of folks willing to go outside of the conventional, what they're used to navigate or gravitate towards, and really go more outside their comfort zone to experience new things, different destinations, different ways of traveling, different groups of folks to travel with, or just different ways to invest their money within the travel industry. So that's all been really coul. And then maybe on the concern side, probably nothing surprising, but availability, right? So much demand. You're never going to stop hearing about the price of airfare. And then the timeliness factor, right? I think people are probably more shocked more times on just how much advanced planning has to go into things. And then once you've started the process, like how many intricate details there really are, which is something that Ryan and I pride ourselves on, is really wanted to be full service and take all that anxiety and stress out of it for people, because it can be overwhelming, especially if it's a new type of experience. So yeah, it's interesting.
For sure. Ryan Warshaw, Dave Levine, owners of Epic Jaunts LLC, an independent agency in the Avoya Network, are our featured Meet the Network guests this week for On Deck with Avoya. Either one of you have any personal travel coming up that you're excited about? Maybe you could share?
Ooh, let's see. My sister-in-law is getting married in Scotland in about 27 days. So that's a quick in and out. And then my wife and I are going to go Sans Child in August with Dave and his wife. We're going to have a couples trip. I'm not sure who's going to be running the operation while we're gone, but we did hire an admin. So little does she know that we're both going to be gone for a week, and that might fall entirely to her. So she's got a few more months to get up to speed, and then I think she's going to be booking travel is what we're going to leave her with. We'll see if she can carry the torch for us while we're gone.
That's funny. As a follow-up, now that you're in the travel industry, does it change your perspective at all on vacations or how you take them?
Maybe not a ton, but I think you get a lot of reinforcement around some of the decisions you're making. Definitely have a lot of pride in the work that you do. But I think both Ryan and I really enjoy being subject matter experts as much as possible. So kind of naturally inquisitive by nature. And I think as we are doing our own traveling, probably asking more questions, peeling back the onion a little bit further. And then again, just like constantly being reminded and, really reinforcing the value of how important it is, probably now more than ever, to be able to be there for your clients. And what does that do over the long term for them if you can?
We had a question come in, so I'm just going to throw it out there if you guys don't mind answering. But one of the people watching wanted to know if you're focused on personal clients that you guys are sourcing yourself, or Avoya Live Leads, which of course is an exclusive resource we offer, or kind of what your mix as far as that and your philosophy is about it.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. It's probably about an 80-20 mix, right? So, I mean, I think, and maybe to tack on to something that Dave said to your question, Chris, about like perspective, I think I have a newfound appreciation for the people who work in the travel industry, but I think beyond all else, I think the mindset that maybe people out there have, maybe some folks who are watching this video, on like, hey, do people still use travel advisors? I can tell you they do, and more than ever is probably a big piece. So, you know, to the question about personal versus Avoya clients, everybody's trying to grow the business, and I think Dave has hit on it well. It's how do you stand out in the crowd? So how do you make that first initial connection? Once you, for lack of a better term, close the sale, right? What does the future state look like? Because when you have a repeat client who has trust and confidence, you understand their family, you understand their preferences, you understand the nuance of every single traveler. You know, I think it's an opportunity to grow the business organically, and then also grow the business through Avoya. So, you know, I would say right now, we would say that 80-ish% of our business probably comes through Avoya leads, right? And you know, we got, Chris, you know who it is, they'll remain nameless, but we got some great advice early on when we were considering affiliating with the network that said, hey, I don't have the time, energy, or patience to do marketing. So if somebody else can help do that for me and I can do what's great, which is take care of customers and close deals, then it's a win for everybody. And I think that's one of the great services that you guys are able to provide. Marketing is tough work. It's not as easy as one would think to generate a lead or generate a client. And I think you guys we collectively are doing an amazing job of bringing all that to the forefront.
Hey, before we wrap up today, any last bits of advice you'd want to share with our audience?
You know, I think ask for help. Go outside your comfort zone, or, you know, go outside what you would consider a conventional practice. And try stuff out. You know, I think there's so much value in trying something different or something original, as long as you're willing and interested, frankly, to fail fast and learn from that, and then continue to just evolve and grow. And just because something works for someone else doesn't mean that it needs to or will work for you. And I think it's an amazing time to be in an amazing industry, and there's probably not a single wrong way to do stuff. There's just about finding the way that's right for you, for the clients that you work with and market to get them, you know, continuing to utilize you. So I think those are probably some of our big learnings, with probably a lot more to come in the future.
So I always wrap up the show with the same question. So I toss it out to you guys. And of course, our whole conversation kind of answers it anyway, but just as our exclamation point, are you excited about the future of leisure travel?
Yeah, it's endless right now. Leisure travel is going to continue. I think every generation probably has their seminal moments or events. And I think for this existing generation, it was probably COVID, right? So I don't think that it will be a fleeting thought for people that they want to spend time together, whether you're in an office environment, you're in a virtual environment, you're in a hybrid environment. Everybody you talk to says, I need a vacation and I need an experience. And, you know, while I'll go and just lay on the beach, they want something that helps them relax. And I think leisure travel probably, as we talk about some version of remote and hybrid, probably just continues to grow, because now maybe I can go somewhere that I didn't think I could because it wasn't worth going for a week, but I can go for 10 days now, and I can work remotely for a couple days, and then I can have my vacation. So you know, I think all of those things are going to be there. So Dave, I don't know if you have anything else on that, but I think it's just going to continue to explode on this side.
I mean, there's been so much expansion that was probably delayed from those handful of years. When you think just about new ships, new destinations, new technologies, And then what Ryan said, just the demand and the excitement that surrounds all of that. But yeah, there's so many things to get excited about, and so many things on the horizon. Like, how can you not be excited as either an advisor or an agency, or just simply as a traveler? There's a lot, which is pretty awesome.
Dave Levine, Ryan Warshaw, everyone, owners of Epic Jaunts LLC, an independent agency in the Avoya Network, our featured Meet the Network guest today on Deck with Avoya. Dave and Ryan, thanks so much for your time and that fantastic discussion.
Thank you.
Next week on Deck with Avoya, we're welcoming in Marilyn Cairo, Vice President of Global Sales for Charisma Hotel and Resorts, for a Meet the Industry segment. You're not going to want to miss this. We look forward to finding all about Charisma Resorts, what they've got in store for the future, some tips on the best ways to sell that brand, and what makes Charisma stand out in a very competitive landscape. That's next Thursday, our normal time, 2:15 p.m. Eastern, 11:15 a.m. Pacific, on your social media channels. All right, so we want to talk about promotion news here really fast, because we've been talking about this for a couple of months, but I'm here to tell you it's going to be wrapping up at the end of this month. I just got word. So don't sleep on this. If you're a high-end experienced agent and you've generated over $100,000 in gross sales, either year to date, like the last 12 months, or sometime in 2022, reach out, get qualified by my team. We're happy to waive our affiliation fee, but hurry, that offer is going to wrap up before the end of this month. Avoyanetwork.com is the best place to go. Our ongoing promotion, certainly going to extend into June, I feel confident in that, is our military appreciation promotion, where we're taking $100 off the affiliation fee for veterans, those who are currently serving, and their spouses. So again, reach out to Avoya Travel. We're happy to get you qualified about that. Education is the key to any successful operation. I am convinced of that. It's what's going to take you from that ground floor to that first step on the ladder, and then boom, the sky's the limit from there. And Avoya Travel Education, powered by Avoya, is fantastic. That curriculum is wonderful. It includes the TAP test, the travel agency proficiency test. The added values are the free membership in CLIA and in ASTA. And of course, if you finish the program in a timely manner, $100 off the affiliation price with Avoya Travel. Again, reach out, avoyanetwork.com, get information about travel agent education powered by Avoya. And then David Ryan did a fantastic job in really highlighting some of the top resources offered by Avoya Travel. And we're really proud of those teams, right? Carrie in support, and Sandy and Brenda in network enrichment, and everybody top to bottom in marketing, in brand sales, in early success. Those are the reasons that we are number one. It's what gives value to things like live leads and our technology. So again, reach out, start the conversation, get connected with an affiliation specialist. They're more than happy to give you all the scoop on what's going on with Avoya Travel and answer all of your questions. And of course, you can always follow us on our social media channels. We hope you already do, but if not, please give us a like or a follow at Avoya Travel Network on our social media, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on YouTube. We just want to share our story. We think it's a great story to share, and we just don't want you to miss a beat ever. And of course, you can always reach out to me. I'm a pretty easy guy to get a hold of. My email hasn't changed in like 10 years. Chris.Greene@avoyatravel.com. You can pick up the phone, give us a ring. And of course, jump on avoyanetwork.com. That's just a wealth of information. A big thank you to my friends Dave and Ryan today. That fantastic discussion, Epic Jaunts LLC. Big thank you to Annabella in Trade Marketing for doing a wonderful job in producing today's show. Thank you for being part of On Deck with Avoya on a weekly basis. And until next Thursday, have a great week, everyone.